ancient army of warriors has been quietly conquering the world. Wherever small battalions of China's famous terracotta warriors are exhibited, they win over a new legion of fans.
For more than 2,000 years, the Terracotta Army has stood quietly, guarding China's first emperor and amazing the world with its lifelike clay soldiers. But what is hidden beneath these figures has stayed a secret until now.
This is the Terracotta Army. 8,000 warriors buried over 2,000 years ago. One of the greatest wonders of the world.
Explorer Albert Lin, using modern scanning tools, has gone where almost no one has dared to go, uncovering a hidden world under Xi'an that is beyond what people imagined. His discoveries are not about gold or treasure, but something even stranger and more chilling. What is really under the army? Join us in this video as we reveal the details. Albert Lin's terrifying discovery beneath the Terracotta Army. Historical records and modern investigations both point to one clear truth. The mausoleum of Emperor Qin Shi Huang was not built through honor or devotion, but through force, fear, and control. Ancient sources state that around 700,000 workers were gathered from across the empire and forced to take part in the construction of the underground complex. These people were not volunteers. They were farmers, craftsmen, engineers, metal workers, stonecutters, and laborers taken far from their homes. Many were sent to the site as punishment. Others were simply ordered to go, with no right to refuse. The work lasted for decades. Some records suggest nearly 40 years of constant labor. During this time, workers lived under strict supervision. They were watched closely, fed just enough to keep working, and pushed to meet impossible demands. For many of them, returning home was never an option. Once they entered the construction zone, they became part of the project itself. The mausoleum was not just a tomb. It was an underground world meant to last forever, and the human lives spent to build it were treated as disposable. In modern times, new technology offers a chance to understand what truly lies beneath the surface. Researcher Albert Lin was given rare access to the site.
This is the Terracotta Army. 8,000 warriors buried over 2,000 years ago. One of the greatest wonders of the world.
Access that almost no foreign investigator had ever received. Unlike traditional archaeologists, he was allowed to use tools normally reserved for military operations. These included drones, LiDAR systems, and ground-penetrating radar. Such equipment is designed to detect hidden tunnels, underground rooms, and buried structures in war zones. This level of access was highly unusual. Every movement was monitored. Government officials and military personnel accompanied the research at all times. Drone flights were approved one by one. Scanning locations were carefully controlled. This showed that the mausoleum was treated as more than a historical site. It was treated as something sensitive, something that still needed protection. As the scans began, the results quickly challenged what had been officially known. Beneath the visible Terracotta Army pits, the radar revealed large, empty spaces where solid earth should have been. These were not natural gaps. They showed the clear shapes of tunnels, rooms, and chambers. Some appeared collapsed. Others looked intentionally sealed. Many were not included in any public maps of the site. The deeper the scans went, the more disturbing the picture became.
One day, a group of farmers dug a well here, and they find some pieces of the pottery.
Beneath areas filled with clay soldiers arranged in perfect order, the ground told a very different story. The radar showed dense, uneven clusters deep below the surface. These shapes did not match buildings, walls, or storage rooms. They were too irregular, too crowded. Their patterns closely matched what scientists recognize as human remains buried together. These findings pointed to mass burial sites hidden beneath the army. The bodies were not placed carefully. There was no sign of ritual or respect. Instead, the remains appeared scattered and compressed, as if people had died where they stood and were quickly covered. This supported ancient accounts that workers were assassinated once their tasks were completed. Further details made the situation even darker. In several locations, the radar detected signs of sudden tunnel collapse. The soil patterns suggested that tunnels were intentionally caved in. Near some remains, shapes resembling tools were detected. This meant people were working moments before the tunnels closed. They were not executed in open spaces. They were trapped underground, sealed in, and left to die in darkness. The evidence suggests this was done in stages. As one section of the mausoleum was completed, the workers who knew its layout were eliminated. Then, new workers were brought in for the next phase. This process ensured that no one living ever understood the full design of the tomb. The project continued, and the bodies accumulated beneath the ground, hidden below the silent army above.
So the human sacrifice, and people start criticize the human sacrifice.
By the end of the scans, it became clear that the Terracotta Army was standing guard not just over an emperor's afterlife, but over a buried history of suffering. What looked like order on the surface concealed chaos, fear, and death below. And this was only the beginning of what the underground world was hiding. So, what if the truth buried beneath the workers points to someone far more important, whose death had to be hidden forever? Let's delve deeper. The executed prince, the scrolls, and the meaning of the army. Among all the discoveries made beneath the mausoleum, one stood apart from the rest. Deep below the worker tunnels, the radar detected a single burial unlike any other. This pit was older than the surrounding structures. It was positioned in a way that suggested later construction had been designed to hide it. It was deeper, more isolated, and far more deliberate. Inside this hidden space lay the skeleton of a young man, likely in his early 20s. Unlike the workers buried in mass graves, this body was carefully arranged. It was not thrown aside. The bones were positioned with intention.
We know that the warriors were intact when they were buried, but sometime between then and now, every single one of them were smashed.
Around the remains were materials that were expensive and rare, items that ordinary laborers would never possess. This alone suggested high status. The most striking detail was found in the skull. A bronze arrowhead was lodged deep within it. This was not an accident. It was clear evidence of execution. The method was direct and final. Combined with the secrecy of the burial, it pointed to a death that needed to be hidden forever. Historians have long noted strange gaps in records about the emperor's children. Qin Shi Huang was known to have many sons, yet only a few appear clearly in historical texts. Others simply disappear. The location, care, and secrecy of this burial raised the possibility that this young man was one of those missing sons. Someone seen as a threat. Someone removed quietly, long before the emperor's death. The structure of the chamber added to this theory. The space was narrow and confining. There were no decorations, no inscriptions, no honors. It felt less like a tomb and more like a prison. Some evidence suggested the man may have been confined there before his death, sealed away underground, isolated from the world above. If so, the Terracotta Army was placed directly above him, ensuring no one would ever discover what had been done. As disturbing as this discovery was, it was not the last. In sealed chambers of the mausoleum, archaeologists uncovered bundles of bamboo scrolls. These fragile texts survived only because of the stable underground environment. Bamboo scrolls from this period are extremely rare, making the find extraordinary. At first, some of the scrolls seemed ordinary. They listed supplies, work schedules, and names of workers. These records showed how carefully organized the construction was. Everything was tracked. Every person was recorded.
Ultimately, opium was found as a payment instead, and that's a very different story and brings us into a much more recent era.
But other scrolls told a far darker story. Many of them contained written confessions. These were statements made by workers, artisans, officials, and scholars. The crimes listed were vague: disloyal thoughts, speaking carelessly, failing to meet expectations, showing sympathy for forbidden ideas. There was often no evidence, yet every confession ended the same way, with the accused accepting punishment without resistance. These documents revealed a system built on fear. People confessed because they knew refusal meant death. The scrolls were not about justice, they were tools of control. They allowed executions to be recorded and justified, turning terror into paperwork. Other scrolls confirmed events that historians had debated for centuries. They listed executions of scholars accused of spreading forbidden knowledge. They documented book burnings, naming which texts were destroyed and which were spared for technical use. Knowledge itself was controlled. Anything that challenged imperial authority was erased. What made these scrolls even more chilling was how normal the tone was. Executions were listed alongside supply counts. Death was treated like administration. Violence was routine. When viewed together, the meaning of the Terracotta Army changes completely. The warriors are not just art, they are guards. They stand watch over mass graves, secret executions, silenced voices, and buried truths. Their beauty distracts from what lies beneath. They form a perfect surface mask over a foundation built on fear and blood. The army does not honor the past, it hides it. And beneath their silent formation rests the real legacy of the first emperor: control without mercy, power without limit, and secrets meant never to be uncovered. If the Terracotta Army and the surrounding necropolis are only the surface of this vast underground world, what secrets lie hidden beneath the soldiers themselves? Let's learn more. Uncovering hidden worlds. Beneath the Terracotta Army. One of the world's most popular finds is the Terracotta Army. The mausoleum of China's first emperor is guarded by thousands of life-size clay soldiers, horses, and chariots standing in quiet order. People thought they understood the site for a long time. It appeared to be a whole picture: a tomb, a huge army frozen in clay, and nothing else. However, the truth is much more difficult. A network of underground buildings and engineering that shows the goals and skills of its builders can be found under the visible trenches. The site's current exploration depends on modern technology. In many places, digging is not possible because air exposure might damage the weak materials. The painted surfaces on the soldiers, for example, fade within minutes, and wooden constructions can fall at any time. For this reason, scientists have turned to non-invasive treatments.
也是我们最新出土的一件高级军利用。兵马俑以前在制作的过程当中都是有原始的。
These include ground-penetrating radar, electrical resistivity surveys, laser mapping, satellite imaging, and computer modeling. With the help of each of these tools, scientists can see below without having to move soil or run the danger of causing damage. Together, they produce a detailed map of the area under, showing patterns, tunnels, holes, and structural elements that would otherwise go unnoticed. The Terracotta Army rests amid a big burial complex. The necropolis is one of the biggest old burial grounds ever built, with an estimated area of about 50 square kilometers, according to archaeologists. The troops are arranged in exact military configurations. Every figure is distinct, with varying ranks, armor, haircuts, and facial traits. Infantrymen, horses, chariots, and archers all show careful preparation and attention to detail. Evidence shows that the design went well beyond what has been found, and the trench's pattern shows the organization of the emperor's dominion. The emperor's tomb is described in historical accounts as a miniature universe. The books describe intricate chambers that reflect the earth and stars, constellations on the ceilings, and rivers of mercury that symbolize important waterways. High mercury levels are confirmed by current soil tests near the mound, showing that the old reports might be true. mercury is toxic and serves as both a clue and a barrier to entry. It shows that the tomb's architects understood the dangers and fully built them into the design. The burial mound itself is still sealed. Authorities stopped from opening it for centuries in order to safeguard its contents and prevent the adjacent buildings from being destroyed. The site's scans have shown previously unknown patterns. While electrical resistivity studies show various materials and soil densities, ground-penetrating radar finds underground gaps and tunnels. Disturbed soil indicates areas where construction or collapse occurred, and overlapping results from multiple scanning methods confirm the presence of man-made structures. These findings suggest that the necropolis is not just a collection of isolated pits, but rather a complex, interconnected system that was carefully planned and engineered to support both the soldiers above and the larger tomb below. The construction of such a massive underground system required extraordinary labor and organization. These patterns form recognizable shapes, including long linear stretches, grids, and repeated alignments. The army and the surrounding complex were built by hundreds of thousands of laborers, according to historical reports. Although the project's scope is amazing, the scans shows that it needed more than just physical labor. The builders used advanced engineering methods, such as multi-layer platforms, retaining walls, and drainage systems. The proposal changed throughout time, with careful planning for both structural stability and symbolic design, according to evidence of several construction phases. The biggest mystery is still the Emperor's tomb. Perimeter scans reveal multi-layer architecture and minute soil movements surrounding the mound, suggesting expert engineering to support the big edifice. Even without entering the tomb, it is clear that the design is deliberate and complex. If the first emperor could carry his power into the afterlife, what kind of army would he need to guard him forever? Let's find out. The emperor's army comes to life. The Terracotta Army is not just a group of clay soldiers. It is one of the most amazing things ever created in human history. It was made more than 2,000 years ago by the first emperor of China. He wanted an army to guard him even after he died. He believed his reign would continue in the afterlife, and he wanted soldiers to protect him forever. Each soldier, horse, and chariot was carefully made and placed in exact order, just like a real army ready for battle. Every soldier in the Terracotta Army is unique. None of them look exactly alike. Their faces, hairstyles, expressions, and even their armor are different. Some have moustaches, some have beards, some have high foreheads, others have sharp eyes. Each one was made in parts. The legs were made using coiled clay, torsos were molded separately, and heads were crafted individually. After shaping them, the soldiers were fired in huge kilns to make them hard and durable. Then they were painted. Unfortunately, most of the paint has faded over time because it reacted badly to air when first uncovered. Some soldiers even held real weapons, not fake ones. Archaeologists have found thousands of bronze swords, spears, and crossbow bolts in the pits. These weapons were made very carefully. They were strong and sharp, built to last. The armor and equipment were also realistic, showing that this army was meant to be both artistic and functional. It was a detailed copy of the Emperor's real army, meant to protect him in the next world. The pits holding the soldiers were engineering feats. Workers dug huge rectangular holes, some as long as football fields and several meters deep. The floors were made of rammed earth, layers of soil pressed down until they were as hard as stone. Some experts believe they even heated the ground before compacting it to make it stronger. Drainage systems were added to prevent water damage, and walls were built inside the pits to keep the soldiers in neat rows. Wooden beams formed ceilings above, and layers of soil were added on top to hide the army underground. Over centuries, the wood decayed, but the soldiers survived, often under collapsed soil. This army was part of a bigger plan. It was not just for show. It reflected the Emperor's belief in control, order, and eternity. He wanted his empire to continue even in death, and this underground army was a way to make that happen. It shows not only his ambition, but also the incredible skill of the people who made it. If the soldiers above ground were only the beginning, what secrets lie hidden beneath them, waiting to be uncovered? Stay tuned for more The Tomb and the Secrets Beneath. At the center of the Terracotta Army complex lies the Emperor's Tomb, a huge mound about 76 meters high. It is shaped like a truncated pyramid, and inside it is believed to be the Emperor's coffin, treasures, and possibly his inner palace. Around this central mound, there is a large underground city. This city has ceremonial spaces, ritual corridors, and more pits filled with soldiers, chariots, horses, entertainers, and officials. The mausoleum is not just a tomb. It is a complete world built to last forever. The pits are carefully arranged. The soldiers stand in military formation, with infantry at the front, cavalry at the back, and archers and officers in precise positions. Other pits held bronze weapons, acrobats, musicians, and even animals. Some pits had miniature gardens, rivers, and ponds. The entire design reflects the emperor's desire to maintain his empire in the afterlife. Everything was built to be both functional and symbolic, showing his power, wealth, and control. The tomb itself was designed with protection in mind. Ancient texts tell stories of traps like mechanical crossbows, pits filled with quicksand, and rotating floor slabs. Mercury, a toxic metal associated with immortality, was said to flow in rivers beneath the tomb. Soil tests today confirm high levels of mercury around the site, which might have acted as a warning or deterrent. This shows how careful and clever the builders were. They thought about security, danger, and the emperor's afterlife all at once. Construction of the tomb and pits involved thousands of workers, artisans, and craftsmen. Clay had to be collected and prepared, soldiers sculpted in parts, fired, painted, and assembled. Weapons were made and placed, drainage systems installed, and wooden beams built to support the ceilings. Workers organized everything in an assembly line style, making thousands of soldiers efficiently while keeping them detailed and unique. Even after the emperor's death, the work continued for some time, though some plans were stopped early, and some artisans were reportedly executed to keep the secrets safe. The Terracotta Army and the tomb complex show not only artistic skill, but also engineering genius. The construction required planning, organization, and careful attention to detail. Each soldier, each pit, and each structure was designed to last for thousands of years. The tomb and army together create a world underground, reflecting the emperor's belief in eternal rule. What do you think about the new discovery beneath the Terracotta Army? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us as we uncovered the hidden world beneath the Terracotta Army. If this deep dive gave you a new perspective on China's first emperor and his underground empire, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to explore even more hidden wonders of the ancient world. See you there.